We live in a world where the control mechanisms that you have over your own authority of what should be your money is getting progressively less and less. But there's alternatives, in my opinion, that are being accessed and understood by a wider population base that could give you more and more of it. An alternate system, an alternate method to being able to warehouse capital. The infinite banking concept is a perfect example of that. Do you ever have the gut feeling that something's just fundamentally wrong in the financial world that we live in? Have you been sitting there wondering, what is up with the world and why do I see things going in a direction I don't really like? Specifically when it comes to things like your money, your control over your money, your ability to access your money, your ability to do things that you want with your money. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to share some, we'll call them horror stories about the banking system and being tied and connected to it. And I'm joined here with Andrew to talk a little bit about a very interesting story that he's had. And as a listener, I think it's going to blow your top a little bit when you realize just the kind of shenanigans that are happening in the banking system that, as it sits today, we still have to plug into. We're using their infrastructure. Hey, they've done a great job of building the infrastructure, so thanks for that. But they're also doing a great job of trying to corral and contain us into the box that they want us to be in. And I think that's fundamentally what people are starting to get a little bit disenchanted with. Would you agree, Andrew?
I couldn't agree more. As you know, I've been practicing the infinite banking concept since 2016. I'm very proud to say that Jason Lowe is my advisor, and I've been with Ascendant Financials for years. And I unfortunately have a really negative banking story that I was filling you in recently. You and I have definitely gotten to know each other a lot over the last few years, and it's an absolute pleasure. You and I have a tendency of jumping on the line and chatting for hours on end. So we're going to be sharing both of our banking stories that will share some insights for other Canadians out there that are struggling with similar problems. It's unfortunate that the golden rule is he who has the gold makes the rules. In most cases, the bank has control of our hard-earned money, right, at the end of the day.
One thing I'm going to encourage everyone to do is to leave a comment if you've had a, let's call it a crap factory of a banking story about some scenario where things didn't go the way you wanted to. So here's what happened. So I have two corporations and I have, of course, obviously personal accounts. I've got accounts at several different banking institutions in Canada because, some is for real estate, some for other purposes. And a few years back, I actually went through a bit of a consolidation because I was just getting tired and frustrated of having multiple logins, and I'd created some unnecessary, I'll call it chaos in my life, and required moving things around a little bit more frequently than I wanted to. So I tried to simplify things a little bit. And I thought, okay, here's an organization that I reasonably like their online banking tools in the scope of businesses that I'm working with. These ones are, I don't know if they're at the top of the list, but I'm comfortable with this online platform. And I've got multiple mortgages with them. And so I already had my business account set up, on one corporation there. I'm like, okay, well, it seems logical. I'd probably log into this one more frequently. This should be where I try to do my consolidation. So a few years back, I did that. I closed down some accounts at some other banks, coincidentally. So I've got an account at one institution, and I'd actually closed accounts there, but I'd kept open like just a personal line of credit so that I could use it for like investing purposes. When I closed down the account, no one at that institution told me I would lose my login ability because I still had this line of credit. So I had no way of using it or accessing it. So I had to go back into them, like physically, to get some kind of a dummy card just so I could create a login well after the fact. It was super frustrating at the time. I had to create a new login ID. So my login ID is I hate that bank. Like it's that bank's name and the number one. So it's just it's all in good fun, but to me, that's comical and I get a kick out of it. So every time I log in there, yeah, I know what's up here.
Don't forget where you're at right now, but I want to quickly note on this because it's funny how for simplicity and streamlining, you wanted to close down certain bank accounts and streamline things. I totally get that. But now with all the chaos going in the US, everyone is talking about opening up additional bank accounts with additional banks to spread out the risk. Maybe the banking system is different in Canada, and I get that. But now there are these very real risks. It doesn't make a lot of sense to put all your eggs in one basket anymore. And now people are desperately looking to spread out the risk, not knowing which bank is going to go under next, and my banking story is in the US. So that's why I bring it up.
Right. Well, and that is important. I think it does overlap with this. And And coincidentally, because of the experience I'm about to share, this recent experience, I'm also looking at transitioning to another institution. And I'm looking at different credit unions, not that they're drastically better than the banking system. And I might give up some convenience factors that I have been accustomed to. I do value the convenience that the infrastructure of a traditional bank has allowed me to use. So there's the tip of the hat towards, hey, good job, banking industry, for creating a convenient system for me to tap into. Like, I appreciate you spent all the money to build all the infrastructure that allows me to plug into it. So they have built a mousetrap that is simple and easy to use, and I like using their mousetrap. All right, so that all things being fair. So my banking story. So I'm trying to do this consolidation, and I went about doing that a number of years ago. And I've got multiple mortgages with this bank, and I've got joint accounts with my wife and everything. And I have a VIP account. So, I pay more fees for this VIP account. It's supposed to give me some kind of privileges. I don't remember what they are, but you would think with an account name like that, like maybe when I phone them, I might be able to talk to someone. Like I might actually be able to get through the queue to get certain things resolved a little bit faster. You kind of think. I have corporate accounts, multiple corporate accounts with this institution. And I've recently opened up new accounts for another corporation that I have. So because I've got these two corporations and they each have a card, they each have a login, and they're independent of one another, but because it's all with the same ecosystem, in theory, it should allow the movement of money between those two organizations a little bit easier. Well, I don't want to leave too much money sitting in my operating company's account more than is necessary. I want to move that over to Holdco. And at some times, because of convenience, I don't want to sit there and log in every single day so that I can move $10,000 and do that multiple times, and have to remember, oh yeah, I got to log in again so I can move. And you have to do these multiple transactions. It's a bit frustrating. It's a bit of a pain. For me, from a convenience standpoint, I want to be able to just move a larger amount from A to B. Now, apparently I could call in, go through a bunch of useless prompts, finally speak to a human being, and then a human being on the other end could move a larger amount of money for me. So I have that ability. I've learned that now that I could do that. Now, every time I don't know about anyone else, leave a comment below. Like, what's your experience calling into a bank these days? Do you get to someone right away? Do you have to jump through a bunch of stupid questions? Do you have to wait 25 to 30 minutes before you can speak to a human being during business hours? I personally don't want to phone and speak to I don't want to speak to anyone at the bank. They've built a system that allows me to do the bulk of what I need without ever having to engage with another human being at the bank that I don't want to engage with, because they ask me dumb questions. They don't know who I am. They don't know my business. They don't understand why I'm moving the money. And they don't need to know any of those things because it's my money. I know what I'm doing, and I'm the customer. They're simply the platform that should allow me to do what I want to do.
They're just facilitating it.
Yeah, just get out of my way. Let me do what I want to do. But they're asking me a bunch of Mickey Mouse questions. Well, why are you moving more than $10,000? Why is irrelevant? It's mine. Just shut up. Let me do what I want to do. And so I get really agitated. So I don't want to call the bank because my level of communication frenzy begins to amplify and the volume goes up. And I probably shouldn't be the person on the communicating with this individual, because I ask them questions and they can't answer my questions. If you can answer my questions, why am I answering yours? Come on, like seriously. I found out they have this tool. It's some kind of a module, express something or other. I don't know what it's called, but there's this thing I can pay for. It's a service. It's like $80 or $100 a month. I don't even care. Let's just say it's $100 a month. And I'm like, I don't really want to pay that fee, but I'm willing to pay that fee so I can stop the frustration that I'm having on this problem, because it has been creating a problem for me. So it's worth the cost in my mind to get over the hump of frustration that, I will spend $100 a month to reduce my level of frustration. It's good for my soul to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've been trying for over a year to get this thing done.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure out who does this. Like, I've called the branch, I make an appointment, find the human being that does it. Like, you're the bank, you figure it out. Just get me into contact with that person so I can set up. Why can't I just do this online? After multiple contacts, multiple calls, I got a hold of someone that's in that department. They were going to start opening an account for me. I got really busy. I didn't follow up because I assumed that they were following up. 3 months went by, nothing happened. I sent an email. Hopefully someone's going to get back to me. I'm really busy. got more busy, didn't follow up. Like the next time I needed to do larger transactions, I'm like, where is this thing? Didn't I get this set up? What's going on here? I got so busy that I just kind of put it off to the wayside and I got frustrated. And I'm like, it's obviously not worth it. A year goes by and I'm like, okay, this is driving me nuts. I'm continually bumping into this frustrating issue. I know there's a way that this can be solved. The product or the tool exists. The problem is nobody knows how to get it in my hands. So I'm going to commit to following this through. I reactivated this. I tried emailing the original person. I still had their email. Nothing, no response. So maybe they don't work there anymore. Okay, let me call someone else. I went back to Edmonton for Christmas. I'm going to call someone there. Maybe someone there can help me out. And if I can actually go and drive to this branch, maybe someone can get this done for me.
Yeah, they can't ignore you if you're staring them.
If I'm right there in the building, right? Now, I don't want to do that, but I'm prepared to. So anyway, I got a hold of the branch, and because that's where the account is, technically the original account is there. And I actually got to communicate with a really nice gentleman. He was very helpful. He says, yeah, we don't deal with that here, but I'm going to try my best to help you out. I'm going to try and find someone. And so I had some communication back and forth with him. I checked in every once in a while, and, things weren't going anywhere. And then he says, oh, I know what needs to happen. You need to fill in this form. You got to sign this, DocuSign this package so we can get an account open for you. He sent it over to me. I signed it literally seconds later. I messaged him back. It's all signed up. It's all good to go. Another month went by. I followed up. A couple more weeks. I followed up. Nothing. I'm like, what's going on here? Then I get this email from after I followed up like 3 times. Now it's been almost 14 months since I first began the process of trying to get this stupid thing done. Now, I'll take for granted that I dropped the ball on my follow-up, but I also don't think I should have, because I've got documented follow-up already in place, and no one from XYZ Bank was reaching out to me. Good morning, Richard. I've gone back and forth with the team now a few times. You had indicated originally attempting to get this set up, and it fell by the wayside. This is true. The original agent you had spoken to a long time ago indicated there was a business need for the ongoing purchase of Bitcoin. Activities surrounding virtual currencies are mostly restricted. There is a possibility to receive a national exception if the exposure is minimal. Whose exposure?
Where did you go?
Can you clarify the purchase of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies and how that involves your business? So I read this, and I've just imagined, you tell me, Andrew, what reaction do you think I had when I read this email?
I'm willing to bet you dropped your computer on the floor and then jumped on it and then doused it with fuel and then lit it on fire, because the level of incompetence with XYZ Bank is just through the roof at this point.
You seen that movie Office Space where they take the printer out into the field and they're just smashing it with the baseball bat? And so I'm ready to flip my desk over, I'm just like, what is going on here? A year later, and now I'm figuring, what? Are you kidding me? So it is true, but it had nothing to do with this transaction. That, yes, I've done some transactions where you make an e-transfer to a crypto exchange, which I have accounts with. Yeah. And in order to do business there, to exchange fiat currency for some kind of a cryptocurrency or an investment that I choose to make as a free individual in this nation, or so I'm told that I am, that we're led to believe, that I can make that transaction happen. Well, I got stonewalled on a number of them, and some of those transactions with this particular bank, from the day I sent the e-transfer, it should take 24 hours, maybe 48 hours on the top end to get it done. 72, 3, 4, 5 days were going by when my transaction wasn't in the exchange, when I wanted to make the purchase the next day. And now I'm losing possible value on the cryptocurrencies that I want to accumulate, but I can't do it. And having to get on the phone while I'm pacing in a store and communicate to some lackey at XYZ Bank about the transactions that I should be allowed to make as a human being of my own capital, and they're stonewalling me. I didn't ask for this tool to allow me to do more of that. I simply wanted this tool to let me move money from corporate account to corporate account and back and forth much easier. That's all I was looking for.
Let's go back to the original pain point, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you needed to move more than $10,000 in order to make your tax obligations.
Yeah, and other scenarios as well, or to pay premium on a policy or whatever.
Exactly. That's another great example. I'm lost where Bitcoin came into the conversation, because that had nothing to do with Bitcoin.
It had nothing to do with wanting this tool.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a record of me having previous conversations and doing previous transactions that were flagged, which are independent of my request for this service that they offer.
This must have felt like completely out of left field. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, where are you even getting this from?
Why am I hearing this now? Why didn't the first person tell me this a year ago? We could have clarified this over the telephone a year ago. Here's my response. At the time, I was doing some of my personal investing for my own uses, my own purposes, using my holding company. Since February last year, I have done little in the purchase or transfers to acquire additional coins or coin-related assets. That's true, mainly because it was frustrating and time-consuming. Not that I didn't want to, it was just irritating at the time. Like any other bank account, you need to move currency from one institution to another to transact. There was limitations and challenges in moving money from my own account or corporate account to the wallet account. As a very busy professional, this takes time, and I've been far too busy to continue this activity with my other responsibilities. True statement. That, however, is not the reason I even need to ask for this tool in the first place. I have 2 corporations I own and control. All accounts and personal accounts are with XYZ Bank, your bank. I have 2 mortgages with XYZ Bank. I have a VIP client account with XYZ Bank. Please tell me why on earth I would have difficulty or be restricted from getting a simple tool you offer to move money more efficiently with less restrictions between accounts I control and oversee. This has been a truly frustrating process. Why on earth am I only hearing about this issue now? It's absolutely ludicrous, in my opinion, as a long-time customer of your bank, and completely insulting. If it was not for the time and effort required to go and set up accounts elsewhere, I would instantly move my accounts from XYZ Bank. This process has been so frustrating. Just have someone tell me flat out, will you let me use this XYZ tool or not? Tell me now so I can move on and find another bank that will accept my business and give me the tools to do what I need as a customer. Representative name, so this is the guy's name. Thank you kindly for your assistance. You, sir, have been wonderful and are a bright light in an otherwise dark room over at XYZ Bank.
Oh man, I know we shouldn't be laughing. We're making light of something that's actually really serious.
This is real.
Lives. These financial institutions are messing with people's lives.
Yeah.
This is insane.
This is 2 months ago, and I've had no response since.
No response?
No, not a single response since 2 months.
Man, that is brutal. Have you seen that social media post that kind of goes viral every once in a while, right? Where it's got like all of those name brands on one side, and it's like, Netflix didn't destroy Blockbuster. Your rewinding fees did. Uber didn't kill the taxi industry. Your lack of available cars, terrible schedules, and pricing did.
Yeah.
All of these amazing companies that bring value to humanity every single day, they've disrupted legacy platforms, legacy companies that didn't listen to their customers' frustrations. Everything that you just shared with me, I heard you use the word frustrated many times. I'm frustrated with my own situation over here. And it's insane to me that more people aren't aware of this crazy little thing called the infinite banking concept, also known as becoming your own banker. You have that beautiful poster right behind you, that amazing book that was written by R. Nelson Nash. And Ascendant Financial, if you are listening to this story, our stories, and feeling any level of resonation here, you got to go to watchibc.com to get a free training from Ascendant Financial. I've done the training myself. I've been a huge fan of Ascendant Financials for years, and I don't know where I would be right now in life had I not met Jason Lowe in 2016, but I know that alternate universe, I'm a DC, Marvel fan. In that other timeline, that Andrew Murdoch is in real big trouble right now. He is in real big financial trouble. All right. So I'm Canadian. I own an American company. It's a YouTube marketing company. We provide done-for-you services for businesses. But because I'm a Canadian living in Costa Rica, owning and running and operating an American company, and it sounds a little complicated, but I spoke to 5 different accountants and made sure all my T's were crossed and I's were dotted and everything was above board, right? And I was told that I only had options between 3 different financial institutions, virtual banks, as you will, right? Virtual banks, because I'm not on the ground to sign the paperwork. My options were somewhat limited, and my accountant made me recommended one specific financial institution to me that will remain nameless in this video, but it is an American entity because it's an American company that I own and run. My company is relatively new. At the time of this story that I'm about to share, my company was only about 1 year and 3 months old. And what is the most important thing to any new startup? Cash flow. Everything's cash flow. A business will live and die by cash flow. And so unfortunately, this client of mine that I've had for over 2 years sent me a massive transaction. The funds never arrived. And I'm attempting to communicate with my bank over email and text. They're live text. We're dealing with a situation where 5 figures are missing from my account. I'm okay. I'm a responsible business owner. I had a bit of a buffer in my accounts. I have employees. I am very seriously want to make sure my team members feel like they're well taken care of. I like to pay a little bit on the earlier side because bills are bills. It was about the 5-week mark. So now we're in the second billing cycle. And I told my client, I sent my client the invoice and I said, you know what? Don't even pay me. I don't even know where your last payment is right now. The bank can't tell me because the bank didn't return the funds and they didn't complete the transaction clearly, right?
Right. So the client doesn't have the money and you don't have the money. The bank's got the money, but they can't tell you where it is.
They can't tell me where the funds are. So now I'm
nothing suspicious about that at all.
Nothing suspicious. So now I'm 2 months behind. Now we're talking about multiple 5 figures. Now I am not panicking, but you could say I'm a little nervous. I'm getting a little concerned here. I'm wondering if I need to take legal action against this bank. Now, I'm not stupid. I've been around the block. It's not my first day of the dance. I know banks are regulated. I know that they have governments that stipulate certain regulations that they have to abide by. KYC, AML, I get it. If there's some extra due diligence involved on certain transactions, communicate with me. I was emailing this fella and then all of a sudden ghost me, just totally ghost me, right? And then I go to their website and I'm trying to communicate with them with their live chat. Nobody's responding, like on their live chat. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This particular moment, I did get a hold of somebody on their live chat. I'm getting ahead of myself now. That individual told me that the person that I was emailing was on vacation. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I get it. People go on vacation. But how come I was just ghosted? How come your operation didn't pick up the slack somewhere? Isn't there a process in place for you to cover your clients and meet their needs when your staff members are on vacation? Like, give me a break.
Generally speaking, in a banking institution of that nature, there's a person that picks up the slack. There's someone that is responsible for base level communication in the event that just such a really impactful event is taking place with one of your business customers.
Yeah, it's customer service. Basic 101 customer service. Don't ignore your customer. And the fact that you've waited 2 months now to get a reply from that's terrible, awful, gut-wrenching customer service. It's like they're intentionally hurting their brand because I think most of them realize that we don't have options, but smart people like you and I, and thankfully I surround myself with people like you that are far more intelligent than me. I know that the infinite banking concept, becoming your own banker, and even though I have multiple personal policies, I don't yet have any corporately owned policies, and that will be rectified very, very soon with Ascendant Financial's Life EVA entity, no less, right? I'm very, very happy to say that. So they tell me that the guy's on vacation. I'm like, okay, now I'm continuing some dialogue with this fella. Nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. Finally, I'm getting so frustrated. Now I'm breaking my own rule. I call the bank, and you bet your butt, I recorded that conversation because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have to take legal action against this entity. I better have everything documented because a phone call isn't exactly documented, right? I finally get a hold of this individual over the phone and I've recorded the whole conversation, and you could probably imagine the kind of language that I was using, and made sure he understood that if this isn't moved to the very top of his priority list, that things are going to get very uncomfortable for everyone involved. Do you understand what I'm saying? He says, yes, I understand what you're saying. So I waited and waited and waited. And then I have my own email thread here that I would like to share with you. I didn't receive a message, but I saw the funds arrived in my account. So I said, hey, I received an email notification about an hour ago saying that my client's March fee of blah, blah, blah was successful. I'm very appreciative that you were able to see this problem to a resolution. However, this delay should have never happened in the first place. And for obvious reasons, I've lost confidence in ZYX. What assurances can you and your team offer me that these kinds of problems won't happen in the future? And I did receive a response. So unlike you, I did receive a response the very next day. Hi, Andrew. Thank you for your email. Happy to help and glad I was able to stick to my promise and get the funds to you. On behalf of our team, I do apologize for this inconvenience that was caused. This case got unnecessarily complicated. To answer your question, payments are assessed on a case-by-case basis. Therefore, we can neither confirm nor deny that future payments will be queried. However, There should not be repeat queries along the same payment pathways.
In other words, the same client paying you shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I forgot to mention in some of the earlier correspondence, they asked me for certain details. They asked me for the client's website. They asked me for a copy of invoices. And then they started asking me for all kinds of my client's information that I don't have easy access to. Like, we need like your business of operations, blah, blah, blah. And they asked for all of these like legal documents. I'm like, you want me to go to my client and ask for these legal documents that are clearly none of my business?
Like articles of incorporation or something? Like,
yes, thank you. Yeah. They were at, and I was like, are you kidding me? Do you really think my client's going to give me access to that stuff?
It's so insane. Oh my God.
Yes. And again, we're laughing because it's so insane that this shouldn't happen. This should not happen. And then the email's almost done here. He says, they are usually smoother whenever, if they happen again. Oh, geez. I mean, is it pretty clear that I'm leaving these guys as soon as I possibly can? Like, that was the last response that I got from them. And I had to share that with you because the banking industry, whether they realize it or not, they're in big trouble. I think they're most concerned with cryptocurrency and digital currencies. Mm-hmm. and all of the hype built around that. But thankfully for people like you and I, we have access to something far better, far more valuable. And I'm very much looking forward to spinning up some corporately owned policies in the very near future, because it does take time when you become your own banker to build up enough capital in your system so that you can operate independently without some of these financial institutions that are so nosy. I swear that social media post that I referenced earlier on, I can't wait to see it online one day, where at the very bottom, it's the infinite banking concept didn't destroy the banking industry. Your poor customer service, lack of understanding, high fees, frustration levels,
manipulation of the money supply,
a fractional reserve system. Thank you. And for you watching this video right now, all I got to say is Richard made an incredible video. I think it's called Making Sense of Paid Up Additions. It's a 7-minute video. I watched that video multiple times. I've sent it to a lot of the people in my network because
it's animated.
In that 7-minute video, by the end of it, if you're not convinced that the infinite banking concept will help you support your financial goals, then I don't know what will help you, because that 7-minute video for me, it just clicked.
Every time that you log in and you look at your bank balance and you're checking your savings account, that's not your money. That's a representation of money that you've lent to a deposit institution. They have custody of the money. As soon as it direct deposits in there, they're using that money. It's being utilized by them while they're holding on to it for 7 weeks, not giving it to you.
I didn't receive any interest.
No interest,
that capital.
Nothing.
I was just out and it just shows up interest-free. I didn't get any interest.
And you had to ask for the apology. So pretty frustrating. And so just get clear that that money, that digital representation, it actually isn't yours. It's yours supposedly on demand, but they change the rules of the on demand. If you want to ask for more than $5,000 and you want to go into a teller and see them physically and ask for cash, they don't want to give you the cash. They want to give you a bank draft. Who do you want to make it payable to? No, I don't want it payable to anyone. I want my cash. So as soon as a transaction goes over $5,000, you got to fill in some Mickey Mouse paperwork. You want to move more than $10,000? Boy, you're going to have to deal with some questions. They want to, we don't have the money here. They don't have the money. They got this giant vault and they say they don't have the money there. You mean you don't have $10,000 in cash? Come on. So they're going to limit and put barriers of entry to you accessing what should be yours, because it's not actually yours. It's only yours in representation. It's actually theirs because they have custody. You have an IOU, a digital representation that you've lent them your money, and they should return it to you on demand. But they're changing the rules around how you actually get access to it on demand, and they're creating these barriers of entry. We live in a world where the control mechanisms that you have over your own authority of what should be your money is getting progressively less and less. But there's alternatives, in my opinion, that are being accessed and understood by a wider population base that could give you more and more of it. An alternate system, an alternate method to being able to warehouse capital. The infinite banking concept is a perfect example of that. You need to wake up and take more control over your financial life. If you're not doing that, please watch more of our content. We have some great stuff out there. Change will not happen until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. If you're feeling that the pain of staying the same is amplifying, then it's time to make a change. Maybe that changes into the infinite banking concept. Maybe it's changing your accounts where they're at to a different type of institution where you feel you have more autonomy and control.
I would love to add one last thing. There's a book that I picked up from a recommendation. It's called The Slight Edge, and it has nothing to do with banking, but it ties into the infinite banking concept so well. There's an amazing graphic in that book that explains very clearly that everything in life compounds. Positive things compound, negative things compound. So are you choosing to watch Netflix and watch a movie, or are you choosing to listen to a podcast that's going to help you grow your wealth, like The Wealth Without Bay Street, or watching Banker's Vault? Either or, both of those forms of content is going to help you improve your financial independence and wealth, right? Everything in life compounds, and you get to decide, you get to dictate what you do on a daily basis to either improve your situation or decrease your situation, decay your situation.
So again, I appreciate you being here, Andrew. This is amazing. And, you know, for those watching, go ahead, right down below. We've got that video, Making Sense of Paid Up Editions. It's only 7 minutes. Go ahead and dig into it. It's fantastic. It's a great learning opportunity. Go ahead and check it out right now.